Alrighty, this one is more geared towards Omega's engineers because if you'll see here, that is what is reading, well, it's supposed to be reading. My thermocouples are absolutely just messed up now. They're in metal units like that with Teflon tape. They were like that before and reading fine. I seriously do not know what is going on. This is the power supply that does my loop power. So you can see here, it's essentially got the two leads that come in, and from there it would bridge out. And this might be the issue. This could be, like I keep saying, I'm a mechanical engineer, not an electrical engineer, but as far as my knowledge, there's one power source that these are being bridged off of in parallel to these. Not in series, because it's not one after the other. It's all related to the same power supply technically, but bridging off from it and then truncating at the channels like in that email. Which basically, if you Google, what is it, National Instruments wiring 4 to 20 milliamp in parallel, you'll find figure 5 on that article. Is pretty much what I was trying to emulate. But still, I mean, see here in a second, just some wonky stuff is happening because, as you can see here, these three are hooked up as was. Now I did take them out and put them back in because I wanted to refresh stuff, make sure the wire connections were good. You can see here I've done some debugging. Tried to just swap to see if I could get anything to happen. It's ridiculous that nothing is moving because all my values are set at full scale. And I'm over here looking at these ridiculous instructions that don't make any sense. I mean, this is an engineer thinking through it, right? So you've got a minus 20 to positive 20 milliamp, thus your hex values, I think is what those are. So technically I've got a flow meter that'll go from 1 to 40 liters per minute within this full scale range, but really it's 4 milliamps is when it starts, so that's square, and then that's my data points I need to put in. What I've been doing, it still will not read right. This stupid stuff is unbelievable. How you can literally have a black and white instruction in here that doesn't yield a black and white result in here for these same instructions followed. Alright, so you can see here that, yeah, let me do this first. Close that, because I need to show you guys that essentially, especially for the Omega people who are going to watch this, so it's already added, it's in the correct registers and functions and slave address. For God's sakes, this is so stupid. This stuff doesn't do anything that relates to this other window that I'll show you. This doesn't work, Omega, thanks for that. So either way, if you were to come in here, click that right here, whatever, basically you press setup to do this, but I'll show you that my computer does talk to it correctly. I had to never mess with this and put it to 0, because it will not talk to your computer otherwise, which is, you know, there should be a fucking red text for that. Do not excuse my French. These people who write manuals are just clueless. So you can see that it reads setup here. Sweet, so it thinks it knows what it needs. Omega, you guys need to get on your stuff. It's a plus or minus 20 milliamp circuit. I get that you're using the 1 volt to understand the current reading, but man, what the hell, you know? What are you doing putting this in here? If it reads it, even though it's a loop power device, it's on a plus or minus 20 milliamp circuit that this is the way I want to do it, right? So once again, we'll read the setup again. I'll show you what it reads with that. The only thing that really happens anyways is that you can curtail this. So as you can see, my thermocouple 1 and 2, now number 1 is the one where I did the swap wiring on. Number 2, no clue. Number 3, number 4, just literally no clue what those stupid piece of garbage thermocouples are doing, even though they've been put in the same freaking way. So you can see that if you check this, it sort of changes it in a sense. See those over there, they've changed a little bit as well. So changes this to what I would assume is the correct, because there's no instructions, because they're idiots, remember that. Well, if the people who wrote it, I'm sure the people who are helping me aren't going to be idiots, because, you know, the people who wrote it hopefully got fired because they suck. But, I mean, I could tell what it does, but it'd be cool to tell, like, you know, with the documentation anywhere that doesn't exist because it's not on this disc. Oh, man. So, you can see that it works. So, close that. Exit that. We know it's communicating correctly, right? That's not the freaking issue. So, hold on real quick. Open this up. So, alrighty, so I'll go back into here. You know what I forgot to, you guys probably saw it on the window, but the response rate was 0.3, so, or 3 milliseconds, whatever, which I can't change, which is really weird. I thought I used to be able to change that. According to this, I should be able to change that. When I put it into the program function, it just fucks off. So thanks, Omega. But your instructions, once again, are useless. You can see here, once again, nothing crazy. Sampling rate might be a little high, but I really don't think it is, considering the fact that this is engine oil. For the figures that they were able to give, it's got 0.6 response time in water. So water is very insulative compared to oil. So I don't think that, for example, 2 hertz sampling frequency is going to be too bad. That's 2 measurements a second, if we're all following me there. So I was a little bit worried about that, but here, once again, when we come in and test, what the actual hell is going on? So, see, once again, you can look at the raw data hex and the scale data unit maxed out for no freaking reason. And basically, if you're wondering why I'm so kerfluffled at this, see, these other ones, whoa, still really hot. Starting to at least read a different freaking temp. And then these milliamp ones, where these are just an absolute, because it works on a 4 to 20 milliamp scale, right? So, I mean, just, how does that actually make sense? That's what I want to know. How can you put the scale in, and it doesn't give you a, like, I know it's not being actualized right now, but look, I could turn this on. And we can test it. It's not, of course, it's probably not going to do shit here, but look at how long it takes to get on now, too. This is, like, way longer than it used to be. 6 seconds in, these still aren't reading. So, if you look at my amps, that's a lie, because it's turning more than it was, which was 0 before, and who knows what that's doing, because who knows if those are right. Point being, though, once again, the instructions that Omega has said just suck. They suck. So, followed black and white instructions as an engineer. I'm very freaking smart. I'm not an electrical person, but I know what the hell I'm doing if I read instructions that are well written. So, what is going on here? This is insane. Of course I have the jumpers installed. I'd have to take this off. It'd be a waste of time. But, I mean, there's literally no explanation for this crap. The thermocouples, the current, and the fact that all I did after it was working correctly was the fact that this power strip was moved from being plugged in over there to now being plugged in back over here, because that breaker is more robust and it has to handle this heater and this giant motor. I blew the breaker. The computer was still running last time. Now, the other funny part, when I was doing the experiment, every single channel pinged to max. I don't remember what the amps were doing. They're pieces of crap anyway. So, it's unbelievable to me that anything like this is happening, because like I said, you've looked at the black and white instructions that if you follow the D84 freaking manual are totally normal. They're all totally normal. Everything that I've done is totally normal. If I follow, where is it? The beginning section. Introduction, not important. So all of this is literally all I've already done. I showed you that it was connected to my, and it doesn't matter because it's my computer that it's connected to, so it might be different values if you were trying it on yours. Point being, look, the parts that matter when you get to the end. Oh yeah, I've got that. I've got no parity. I've got 8 data bits. I've got 1 stop bit. I've got RTS only. Handshaking is not an option, and these aren't the options either. So I don't know what the hell is going on. This is absolute bullshit that I can't do some of these things. Especially when you get into, you know, for example, the other sort of things where you can adjust the response rate. Like here in that window where I showed you, you all saw it with great, if you could scroll back and need to look at it or whatever. It's grayed out though. I can't adjust any of this. And I can't adjust it when I go into there either. Oh, it's just, this is bananas, dude. So I don't know if the D8400 shit a brick. I don't know what is going on because I follow instructions, and as far as I can think about, of course I can't use a multimeter with one hand and show you what the voltage measurements are, but see, that's the other issue, is you would need to know the maximum voltage ratings, which are not in this, that would ping each channel to its max. So once again, I can't debug this because just nothing is correctly ever set up by these large companies. I don't even think Omega's public. That's the worst part about it. They're just lazy. Don't get all offended at that. You guys need to be put on the spot every now and again. See, I'm reading all these channels. I can go and show you this too. I think I can open this up. So look, 49, that's where it starts. 50, 1, 2, 3, 4. All at register 40, which would mean that it's reading the analog inputs. And it can write those if it needs to, which obviously I've got the strings that come out and show that. Yeah. None of this makes sense. None of it does. So, check this out. I can't do any of this because I don't have a power supply that I can control everything on. And I don't think this is my issue anyways. It's just pinging everything at max, and I don't know why. So, this will be a, it'll be a learning experience for sure. But, literally, I've written Omega like this. And I do expect, hopefully, some sort of answer to be like, oh, this or that. But it's like a Windows computer. Like, you updated it, turned it off, and then you turned it on the next day and it blue screens. That's essentially what happened in my testing system for moving an outlet. Because that's the only thing I can trace to it. Unless, for example, like, you know, there was something that was missing out, and it doesn't really matter because you don't have a shielded cable that goes to this anyways. So, as far as I can think about it with my expertise in this, which is just sort of working and evolving as we go, me choosing a 3-prong grounded plug versus the 2 that I did is going to make jack diddly difference for this issue that I'm having, because that's not the issue. There's something wrong in here, I think. It doesn't make any sense that these would be at max values, and I can't, moving the wires around does nothing, like getting up here, you know, I mean. And like I said, the fact before, where I was conducting a test, everything was working as expected for the most part with the thermocouples. I'm still, these ampere, the loop current systems are just, nobody writes stuff right. It's so funny. Just tell you how to do it in one step. It's so easy. But, I mean, it just makes no sense why the thermocouple voltages would be pinging at max. And guess what? It would also make sense if I knew what the max voltage was for that thermocouple, so that, for example, with this thing that they've set up and pre-calibrated, you know, they would know the voltage it has to ping to do that, right? Why is that not in the fucking manual? Common sense, people. Common sense.